And welcome to the Red Hour, where I bring a little chaos to Star Trek by talking about a random episode of Star Trek. I hope everybody's having a good evening out there, and I'm just letting you guys know right now that this is going to be a quick one because I have plans for tonight. And going to see a Sublime cover band called Badfish. I don't know if you've heard of them, but um, they're playing. They're probably starting right now. So, like I said, I'm gonna be quick and try to get through this episode. Um, so we'll see if anybody's out in the chat. Probably not, but not currently. I'm not seeing anybody. So anyway, let's just get on with it. So this episode starts off. Quark is talking to Odo. There's a Klingon in the holosuite that is has been in the holosuite for like a long period of time, and Quark can't get rid of him, and so he's trying to get Odo to help him get rid of him. And he's like, the Klingon is doing some sort of like war program, like reenacting a battle or something like that. So Odo, so they go up to the holosuite, and Odo is tells Quark to cut off the power. And Quark's like, well, I can't do that. He'll kill me. Or he'll kill you. And Odo's like, no, he said he'll kill you. So he turns off the power, and the Klingon opens up the holosuite door, and it's Core, which we've seen in the original series. And he has modern Klingon look to makeup, so he doesn't look like a human like they did in the original series. And of course, in Enterprise, they explained that there was some like a virus that made them look that way. So I guess you could say that the virus was cured, and that's why these Klingons look normal, like normal Klingons now. And I just wanted to say that, I kind of changed my setup a little bit, so I have it's my same apartment, but I'm just sitting in a different area so that the background is like, I thought was a little better. I'm sitting up a little higher, and I managed to set up my microphone on a mic stand, so it's like right here instead of so because before I didn't like the way I was like sitting. Now you can kind of see like my face better. You can kind of see, I've been trying to wear some cool shirts, that you guys would probably like last time I wore my Starfleet polo. So anyway, Core's like drunk, and he's he doesn't want to, leave the holosuite, and Odo kind of clunks him over the head with a bottle, and then we see him in the like the drunk tank, and basically that's our teaser. So then Odo's sitting in his office, and another Klingon comes in, and he says, "My name is Koloth," and Odo's like, "Okay," basically like, what does that even mean? I don't really care. So he's come to get Core, and he's like talking to Core, and he's like, not happy with him, so he leaves him in the drunk tank, and then Odo goes to like it's not the bridge. They don't have a bridge. It's like a command center, I guess. I forget what they call it. And he's talking to Kira and explaining the situation. Meanwhile, you see Dax, Jadzia Dax, and she's kind of sitting at her station and overhearing the conversation, and where, he's explaining the situation to Kira, where he's like, yeah, there's a Klingon in my holding cell, and his friend is with him, and his friend doesn't want anything to do with him. And he says the name, and Dax turns around and is like, what was the name? And he's like, Core, and the other guy is Koloth. So that, kind of, she triggers her, and she goes to Odo and is like, I want to go see him. So they go to the holding cell, and she explains to Core that she is Dax, and he would know him as Curzon Dax, and kind of says some kind of thing to kind of help him remember. And so he's like, oh, Dax, my old friend, and give me a kiss. And she's like, how about a hug instead? So then so they go to meet up with Koloth, and Dax is like the godfather or Curzon Dax was godfather to Kang's son, and they had took a blood oath with them. So so when they're talking, they're at Quark's bar, and they're talking to Koloth, and then that's when Kang walks in. And again, these are all Klingons from the original series. I think Kang was Day of the Dove, where and then Koloth is also the same actor that played Trelane, and then Core. One of them was Trouble with Tribbles, I believe. So Dax and Kang are on the promenade, and they're having this conversation, and Kang is like basically saying, I know that Trill tradition says that once a host dies, the symbiote is not required to continue on any obligations from the prior host. And Jadzia says, I know that a Klingon blood oath can never be broken. So and then, which I liked, because that kind of gives us a little bit of Trill lore or understanding of like how their society works, and how the whole host symbiote thing works, which we get a lot of that throughout the series, throughout Deep Space Nine. And so Kang relieves Dax, Jadzia, of the blood oath, and so that kind of ends that conversation. And then we see Jadzia talking to Kira back at the command center, and she's like, asks asks her, like, how many people have you killed? And she's kind of like taken aback. She's like, what? During the occupation. And she's not comfortable with this conversation, and basically, but also it becomes clear to Kira that Jadzia has something on her mind and wants to talk about this. And Jadzia, tells the story of the albino. And I forgot to mention that Kang had found the location of this albino. And so basically the setup is the three of them are going to seek out this albino Klingon. And we haven't been told up until this point why they're going to seek him out. So she tells the story, and I'm going to read this out because I want to make sure that this is accurate. So she says, 80 years ago, the albino was raiding Klingon colonies, and 3 starships, Klingon warships, were sent out to stop him. And they were successful, but when it was all said and done, the albino got away, and sorry, that was a little loud, and basically said, I'm going to kill the firstborn of each captain. And she says that somehow he was able to poison all 3 of the sons, and because Jadzia, was Curzon, was the godfather to Kang's son, and Kang even named his son Dax. She felt like obligated still to to help them. And once again, another, Kira's like reminds her that you can't carry over things from the previous life, otherwise you'd constantly be in debt to people, and constantly there'd be constantly issues. And Dax, throughout the series, there's a couple times where she struggles with like the rules of the Trill and the host situation and hosting the symbiote. There's another one where she falls in love with a previous host, Dax symbiote, who was married to another symbiote host and had died, and they reconnect and they fall in love and all this stuff, and that's against the rules. So there's more than one occasion where she struggles with these rules, but for the most part she tries to adhere to the rules, because that's part of the process of becoming a host. And Kira says, every new life must be a new life. Like you can't keep going on. So, but Jadzia feels like she must fulfill this. And then at the end of the conversation, Kira says, look, when you kill someone, a little bit of you is lost as well. And that's people that have gone to war and stuff have said things like that too, so it's very true. So Dax visits Kor at Cork's bar, he's hanging out with these two alien girls. They're pretty hot, and she's like, I need to talk to you for a second. So they go away, and she tries to convince him to talk to Kang, who has relieved her of the blood oath, to let her go along with them on this mission. And he's basically saying, King, he's made up his mind. There's nothing I can do about it. But Koloth, he's too immersed in his own things on the holosuite or whatever. So she goes to the holosuite to talk to him, to Koloth, and at first he's like not having it. He's like, no, I don't want you to go. And so, hey, DJ Play Nice is here. Good evening, DJ Play Nice. So she talks to the computer, and let me just. Oops. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah. Just wanted to say hello to DJ Planas. So, where was I? So she talks to the computer and calls up a batleth, a warrior's batleth, as Koloth calls it. And just to let you know, DJ Play Nice, this is going to be a short one because I got things to do. I'm going to a Sublime cover band concert called Badfish. I don't know if you heard of them, but it's been ages since I've seen them. They are probably currently starting, so I'm going to be kind of short and sweet on this one. Even though it's a great episode, and there's definitely a lot that I could talk about, but unfortunately I can't stay long. So anyway, she basically challenges Koloth to a fight, and he's kind of like throws some insults her way, and she throws some insults his way. So then they get into the fight, and about halfway through, Kang and Kor walk in, and they're watching the fight. And she puts up a good fight, which, like these days and age, people would say, oh, she's girl boss. But, she's not a girl boss because she loses the fight. Even though Koloth is old. I don't know the strength differences between Trill and Klingons, but I'd say Klingons are probably stronger. So anyway, she loses the fight, and that convinces Koloth to say, okay, well, maybe she can handle her own. And he doesn't say that, but you get the idea, maybe she can handle her own. And he's like, yeah, you can come with us. So then Kang is the holdout still. He's basically saying, I can see that, you're just not going to take no for an answer. And they kind of have this discussion about how Curzon had convinced him to, like, this is back when, I guess, shortly after Khitomer, where the Klingons are negotiating with the Federation, and Curzon is like one of the main, negotiators, and he was able to convince Kang to be on board with it because he basically pissed him off, and so they go back and forth, and basically she pisses him off, and she wins the argument, and so Kang agrees to let her go with them. So then we get to Cisco, and Cisco was friends with Curzon, and he's like, I never understood this whole blood oath thing. Curzon didn't agree with murder. It's like straight up murdering somebody. So she had basically requested like leave, and he's denying it, and she's like, well, and he's like, what happens when you get back? And she's like, well, that's up to you, and basically pieces out in front of him, in his face, and basically like, I'm actively disobeying your order. And so she walks away, and then they're on board. I guess it's Kang's ship. I guess it's his ship. They don't really say. It's one of their ship. It's got to be Kang's, but it's a warbird, Klingon warbird, or bird of prey, or whatever you want to call it. And they're like discussing the plans. And Kang, Dax kind of suggests a plan where they go in stealthy and sneak in there, and like the albino's got like 40 bodyguards or something. It's like this little compound, and Kang doesn't like that plan. He's like, no, I want a warrior's death. I want to go in there, guns a-blazing. I want them to know that we're there, and I want him to know that we're there to come after him. And so Koloth, and so they agree to the plan, and Koloth and Kor are like, let's go sharpen our knives, our swords, Klingon type talk. And so they go away, and then Kang and so Dax is like, what's all this talk about? Why you want this warrior death so bad? And Kang explains that when he found out the location of the albino, he went there and to check it out, and the albino basically challenged him to, like, here's your warrior's death. I've got 40 of my men. Come and get me, bro, kind of deal. And she's like, well, that's fucking stupid, and but then she kind of agrees to it and comes up with it kind of convinces him that it doesn't have to end in death, that it could end well. It could end, good. And she says, what we could do is what we could do is I can figure out a way to disable their phasers. And he's like, well, wouldn't that same in the there's a little bit of technobabble, and but it's not too egregious, it's not too bad, and he's like, well, wouldn't that affect our phasers too? And she's like, yeah, but it's kind of evens the odds, sauce for the goose, Mr. Savick, so it evens the odds for them, so it's a more fair fight, So she comes up with a way to disable the phasers, and they end up at the compound, and they're still trying to do a little bit of planning, like who's gonna go in and where, and what if they mention what if he's not even there, and then that's when Koloff says, "I'm gonna go find out," and he's like, and they're like, "How are you gonna do that?" And he's like, "I'm gonna go ask somebody." So he goes off, and then they talk about their plan a little more, and how she could be like she's younger, so she could be like a distraction and distract the guards so they can get in there and do what they need to do. And so everybody's on board with the plan, and right as they're about to come in, Koloff goes up to like one of the guards, like sneaks up on him, and gets the information that he needs, and then comes back and he's like, "Yeah, he's in there. That albino's in there." And so they get in, they infiltrate the compound. They fights break out. They're beating their way through. One of his henchmen's. The albino, right. I don't think I noticed this before, but or if I did, I forgot. But when they get in, the albino is like telling, stop them, classic bad guy situation. But then he gets behind one of his henchmen, so this man has no honor. I thought that was pretty funny. What a coward move. So Koloff is injured. Kor is injured. But Koloff is worse off. And so Kor goes to Koloff, and Koloff's saying, basically I'll be damned if I die before you, or something like that, and then he dies, unfortunately, but he dies an honorable death, like a good Klingon. And then Kang is fighting the albino, and he gets stabbed and falls over, and that's when Dax gets in there, and the albino is making fun of her and talking shit, and she's about to lunge for him, and then Kang gets back up and stabs him really good, and then Kang is like, "Oh, I was right, today is a good day to die," and Dax is like, "Well, but it's not a good day to lose another friend." And so then he dies. So Kang, or Kor, is the only one left out of the group. But so then Dax gets back to Deep Space Nine, walks in, and Sisko's there, and he kind of looks at her, and then walks to his office, and then Kira looks at her, and she just goes back to her station like nothing's happened. And I guess she's off the hook. I guess disobeying orders. I guess Sisko's okay with it. Maybe he's not okay with it, but he's like, "I'm not, you're not going to be reprimanded or anything like that." So, yeah, it's a good episode, and if you like Deep Space Nine, watch it. It's a good episode. I'd say 7.7 out of 10, maybe even 7.5, because they bring back the actors from TOS and they gave them a good death. So I don't know. One thing in Discovery is there's an albino Klingon, and this is before they take the time jump to like 1,000 years in the future. This is still the 10-year period before Kirk. And there were some people there that speculated that that albino is the same one in this episode. But that's never been confirmed one way or the other. I mean, would it matter? I don't know. I mean, who cares, really? But, again, good to have these guys back. And I forgot to mention that when I was looking this up on Paramount Plus, it said that it was episode 19. And I think in the last stream, I said episode 18. So I don't know if the random generator messed up or I messed up. I'd have to go back and look at that. And I haven't had time to do so. So, speaking of the random generator, because I got to get going. So I messed up. Sometime over the weekend, I was doing things on my phone. And I think I accidentally hit the button because it's not Blood Oath. That should still be there. It's a Voyager episode. Look, guys, I messed it up. So I'm not doing this Voyager episode. That's user error on my part. I was playing around on my phone and probably hit the wrong button. So I'm gonna do the randomize now. I mean, yeah, no, I'm not doing that episode. If it's another Voyager episode, I'll do it. But okay, let's see what we've got. We've got Lower Decks. Oh, yeah, I'm not doing Lower Decks. I've already mentioned that several times. We're just doing the series from the 90s and the original series. So we're going to have to do that again. Randomize again. Let's see what we get this time. Alright, so we got the Omega Glory. Hey, this one's alright. There might be some negative things that I could say. But, yeah, the original series, Season 2, Episode 25, I believe it was written by Roddenberry, the Omega Glory. So, that's pretty much going to be our show for tonight. I want a couple of thanks. I want to definitely thank DJ Play Nice for showing up. He showed up for every single episode so far, which is awesome. And I want to thank anybody out there that sees this in the future, anybody that's just kind of lurking. But I also want to thank Admiral Teague. Let's see if I can find Admiral Teague's channel. Because last week, or Wednesday, or the other, I forget, maybe it was Sunday. And DJ Play Nice, if you find it before me, please put it in the chat. Because he put my channel in the chat, and on his show, and I forgot to give him a shout out for that on the show on Wednesday. So I'm gonna try to I want to give him a shout out now, and put his channel. His channel on my chat. Here we go. Saving Star Trek is it? And where is my chat? Teague's channel. Oh, thank you, DJ Play Nice. I'm gonna put it anyway. So check out his channel. He's awesome. He talks about he does a Enterprise show every Saturday at 10 p.m. Unfortunately, I can't catch it because I have to work early on Sundays, like really early. Oh, you're not? Yeah, I know you're not a mod, but I know you're not a mod, but I just sorry, I shouldn't be making demands of you because you're not a mod. But anyway, thank you everyone for coming out tonight. I will be back on Wednesday where I talk about the Omega Glory. Have a good night. DJ Play Nice. Thank you.